Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how to do this look right here. This is my go-to fall/winter look, and this is going to be a talk through, so it might be a little bit long, but if you are interested in seeing how I did this look, please keep watching. Alright guys, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I almost always start with my eye makeup because that way I can blend like crazy, and if it messes up or falls down to my face, then it's fine, I can just wipe it away. So I usually always start with Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. This is in the shade Eden. It's a nice matte shade. So I just take a very, very small amount, kind of rub it on both fingers, and then just prime both at once, all the way up to my eyebrows, all the way into that inner corner, all the way down to the lash line, and then I try to pat out the edges because you can see it's pretty bright compared to my skin tone. And if you have darker skin than I do, you can just use a concealer and then just set it with powder so that your eyeshadow doesn't like skip along that creamy consistency. But with this, it dries pretty well, so I don't set this one with powder. So I have built this eyeshadow palette, and I always start with a very neutral transitions shade. It's gonna depend on your skin color and your skin tone, but I always start with a kind of neutral peach, and I just put it on a really fluffy brush, and I just put that right into my upper crease. And this is the shade that you can really be messiest with. Windshield wiper it back and forth, kind of circular motions, get it up as high as you want. I like to try to keep my eye open because I like to see how much is going to show when my eye is open. And then from there, you're just gonna blend into darker and darker shades. I'm gonna take a smaller fluffy brush now. This is just by Crown. And I'm going to take just a pretty light brown shade, tap off the excess, and then I try not to stretch my eye, but I do stabilize it. And I'm basically gonna do the same thing. What this is basically doing is creating a shadow so that it looks like your brow bone is so sharp and sticks out so much that it causes a shadow over your eye. Just kind of makes your eye look bigger and more defined. And then after I've placed that, I'm just going to do a tiny bit of that first peach shade and just spread out the edges of that, just so that it doesn't look like peach, and then brown. And then I'm going to take another fluffy brush, just like the one I just used, just clean. I'm going to go into this shade called Deep Damson, and it's basically a plum. And I'm just gonna lightly press this onto the outer corner and then kind of blend it out. Just dipping a little bit more into that and pressing it in, making sure it gets onto the eye and off of my brush. And then once most of it's off my brush, you can just blend out the edges. Try not to take that purple too high, but we do want to see it when our eye is open. I'm gonna dip into this shimmery kind of brownish plum. It's hard to explain, and I'll put the name of it below, but it's in my palette, so I can't see the name, but I'll get it out later. So I'm gonna get a little bit on my brush. I'm just gonna shake a little bit off, and then I'm gonna spray it with some Fix Plus. Just wet it down a little bit, and then just press that directly onto the blank area that we have left. I'm raising my eyebrows so that I can get all up in there. So this looks really pretty on its own, but since I put down a really matte eyeshadow primer, the shimmery might kind of die when put on top of the matte. So by wetting it a little bit, you can just wet it with water or whatever you want to wet it with, but by wetting it a little bit, that'll help it stick to your eyelid a little bit better, and it'll help kind of bring some of the life back out of it. So now, rather than putting that wet brush into the eyeshadow, I'm just gonna flip it over onto the dry side, and then I'm spritzing that. If you put the wet brush in the eyeshadow, it could ruin it. So you just don't want to do that. And going back into that first peach shade, blending out the edges and kind of the middle. And then I'm going to get a little bit more of that plum because I feel like it kind of disappeared with all the other stuff we've been doing. So just kind of deepen that up, blend out the edges. The more you blend, I know it's annoying to do the same steps over and over again, but the more you blend, the better it's going to look. And then I'm not going to do eyeliner with this look. I feel like it's going to be nice and smoky on its own. And I feel like the wing, like the classic wing, would look really good with this, but I think it just might be a little bit too much for just like every day. So I'm just gonna leave it, no eyeliner. And then I'm not gonna put mascara on yet because I'm gonna use a spray foundation, and if I do that, it'll stick to my lashes. So I'm just gonna skip mascara for the moment. I'm gonna move on next to my primer. It's a mixture of a BB cream and a primer, and it has a tint to it. So this primer will help to kind of blend all of that together. Also, it's really good because it has SPF in it, and it's really good to wear SPF on a daily basis, whether it's in your skincare or in your makeup. It's just really good to prevent any sun damage and wrinkles. I am using MAC Pro Longwear in NW20, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit onto my index finger and place it where I want it. So I do a little bit under the eyes, of course, and then I do a little bit on the forehead and a little bit on the chin, and then whatever is left over on my finger I just put on my beauty blender. And you can you can use a brush or your finger, or you can use a beauty blender, and you can wet it under the sink faucet, or I like to just spray it with Fix Plus because then it's full of moisture, but then it also has those setting qualities to it, so your under eye won't crease. And then it's just important to kind of stipple it in and get all the way up to the lash line. I'm sure my eyes look really scary right now, but it's all gonna come together, trust. And I use this both as a highlighter and a concealer, so that's why I put it on the nose and the forehead and the chin as well, just kind of even out that bright color. Alright, and then I'm going to use my Ride or Die foundation. I absolutely love this. So for this I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see how I actually apply it. So I'm using the shade Fawn from the Sephora Airbrush makeup, and if you have skin that is a different color than your hair, which everyone does, then you're going to want to probably cover your hair up either with your hand or with a scarf. Same with clothing, it'll stick to anything. I'm just going to go for it so you can kind of see what happens. That's it. Oh, I'm spraying my brush with some Fix Plus just to get it blended. Everyone's always like, oh, I could never do that, and I'm like, literally, I do it with my eyes closed. Like, and it's not because I'm a professional, it's because you just blend it out just like any other foundation, except this is basically a powder. It dries to a powder, and so it blends even easier than like a heavy cream or a liquid would. So no reason to be scared. You can see it got into my hair. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then I like to blend it down my neck. If I was wearing like a v-neck shirt, I would also spray some on my décolleté and blend it down there. It just makes everything look really nice and all the same color. I'm now going to set my under eye area really quickly. I'm using MAC Emphasize for this. And you really don't need to powder the rest of your face when you wear this. If you're just using a regular liquid, then you can powder. One of my favorites is the Laura Mercier just loose translucent powder. It's so light you won't even know you're wearing it. So I'm going to just go ahead and take that Deep Damson on a pencil brush. This is a Sigma E30, but it doesn't matter. Any pencil brush will work. Just gonna run that under. This is so much easier and so much better than putting eyeliner under your eye, because unless you fancy and you know how to like blend your eyeliner out under your eye really well, it's probably gonna look too harsh and it might be too dark, or it just looks so much nicer to just smoke it out a little bit. And this Plum might scare you, but it looks really good with blue eyes or green eyes, or I mean it looks good with brown eyes as well, but it definitely pops lighter eye colors. And I don't take it all the way to the inner corner. I stop about, I don't know, 3/4 of the way in, 5/6, whatever you want to say. Let's do some mascara. So I always use the L'Oreal Beauty Tubes as my first coat, mostly because I just really love the way it removes. Like, cup your hands full of warm water and kind of just cup it on there. They basically just melt away like into little, it's like you could just pull them off and it looks like you've pulled off your lashes, but you haven't. They just come off in little tubes. It was always really hard working at Ulta because people would be like, oh, what's your favorite mascara? And I do like some high-end mascaras, but for the most part, I'm always like, girl, you want me to be real with you? Beauty Tubes, L'Oreal, yes, $10. I feel a little bit more human with a little bit of mascara on. So while that dries, before I do my second coat, I am going to move on to my complexion. So I am going to be bronzing using MAC Give Me Sun. And I'm going a little heavy-handed. That was not on purpose, but let's go with it. Because I'm going to highlight the top and I'm going to clean up the bottom. So just make sure you get it blended out no matter what, because you can always clean up the edges, but you gotta get it blended so that it doesn't just look like a line. And contouring is totally optional. It's just like a theater trick to make you look like you're getting hit by some light. You know, we just flatten everything out when we get rid of the bags under our eyes and the freckles in my case, and whenever we just even out our skin tone with foundation, it just gets rid of all of our features, so we gotta bring them back with some contour. But again, totally optional. I'm doing a little bit under my chin because I like to darken that area so that it looks like it's gone. Please. Moving on to blush, I'm using the Morphe 9B blush palette, and I'm gonna use this kind of rosy color. This is really nice for the winter slash fall months. Just a little bit darker, but it still gives some color to the face. A lot in my case, because I'm going really heavy-handed today. As you can see, trying to blend out the edges so that it's not like a circle in the middle of your cheek. Then I'm gonna go in with the Kat Von D Shade Light palette. You don't have to own this, just whatever powder you like. I'm going in with this yellow shade in the very middle. And I'm just going to clean up the bottom of my face that I blended out too far. Taking it a little bit on top just to tone it down, since I went kind of crazy. And then I'm going to highlight. This is Becca Champagne Pop by Jaclyn Hill. This is like the flavor of the week. It's like the best highlights of all time of right now is what I mean by that. And I'm super fair, and so I love that it shows up on fair skin. You gotta blend it out though, because it's like BAM! Wherever you first lay it down is where it's gonna wanna live, so you gotta kinda blend it out. And then I'm gonna put a little bit on my Cupid's bow, just to make that top lip look a little fuller. A little bit on the very tip of my nose. A little bit on the top, just to kind of slim down my bridge of my nose. I'm not going to run it all the way down because that would make me just look greasy and shiny. But you can. And then a little bit just on that brow bone. And then just a little bit on the tip of my brush into the inner corner. At this point, I'm going to do another coat of mascara. I am now using the L'Oreal Telescopic. And this is like super black and super lengthening. So while that coat of mascara is drying, I'm gonna do my brows. I guess this is Sonia Kashuk from Tarte. You can use any brush you want. It just has a little angled spot right there, and then it has a little brush on the end. So I always go through and just brush them up, and then out to the side. And then this is a 2-shade powder kit from Anastasia. I used to use Brow Wiz, the pencil, but this is the same price and it lasts like a million times longer. This is the Auburn shade. So I start with the dark one and I do that on the outside. And then I just try to, I like a really long tail. So I just extend my tail out a little bit further than it really goes. Then towards the inner part of my brow, I use the lighter red. I don't clean my brush or anything. I just dip it right into that lighter red. And then just kind of fill it in a little bit lighter than on the outside. And then the most important thing for me to do with these brows is to comb through them again afterwards, and just, especially on that inner corner, just take off any excess product. I like to take just whatever's on the front of my concealer, just hanging out up there, just making a mess. And I just do a little bit on a flat brush. And then I don't conceal all the way around like a drag queen. Nothing wrong with that if you do. But I just kind of replace a little bit of the makeup that I just brushed away. So I'm just going to be using Demi Wispies, and these are actually a recycled pair. I have worn these once before. So all I'm going to do is just really quickly just pick off any like lumps of glue. Excuse me, I'm filming. Sorry. She doesn't need anything. She's just loud, I promise. So the reason that I buy Demi Wispies is because they're the cheapest. I would love to invest in some real fancy lashes, but I took a finance class this semester and we studied depreciation, and I'm just loading up some glue on these. And I was like, ooh, I'll figure out how much my makeup depreciates. Like basically how much it's worth per use. So with like blush, I mean, yeah, maybe for a really nice blush you might spend, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks on blush. But you get what, like 200, 300, 400 uses out of it? I like never run out of blush. So per use, it's like less than a penny, right? But with lashes, I can maybe get like 5 uses out of lashes just by picking the glue off each time. But eventually they start to fall apart. So like $5 divided by 5 uses, that is not good depreciation. So the nice fancy lashes are like 15, 20 bucks each. I'm not doing that. All right, so I'm just waving this around so that I can get the glue to get a little bit tacky. We don't want it to get all the way dry, of course, but if you get it a little tacky, then it won't get on your lash and then slip around. It'll just stick. But try not to close, but just look down. Oh, look at me, I just closed. But do as I say, not as I do. So, and then just get them as close to your lash line as possible, but still get them on your skin, on your eyelid, and not on your eyelash, because that's when you're going to start losing hairs whenever you take them off, because they'll pull out eyelashes. But if you just glue them to your lid, then you set, girl. And then you can also kind of look down or look up, however you want to think of it. Look kind of up into your lashes, and make sure that you don't see anything like sticking out on the side, and you're good to go. And then you're not really supposed to put mascara on your lashes, just because it kind of makes them clump together. It makes it so you can't reuse them as often. But I like to just kind of boop, boop, and just kind of get my real lashes to press into the fake ones. This is MAC Lip Pencil in Soar. You certainly do not have to use a lip liner, but I actually really like them. I think they make the lipstick stay a lot longer. This is just a Maybelline matte lipstick in number 660, Touch of Spice. Just a nice fall color. I love fall, winter, whatever. It's like December and I'm still like, it's fall. I like to finish with a setting spray. People say that Fix Plus is not a setting spray, that it's more just like a beauty spray, a priming spray, but whatever, it works for me. And especially in winter, my skin is so dry that I like to spray a little bit of this on because it is moisturizing. So it'll help to set the makeup, it'll moisturize, and it'll just kind of refresh your makeup. But make sure you hold it pretty far away, because otherwise you might get little dots on your face. Alright, this is the finished makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed my first ever makeup video on this new and improved channel. Let me know what you think below. And please, by all means, request looks that you would like to see in the future. And let me know what you thought of this video. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye! Postman just dropped off a package. It scared me so bad. Oh yeah! We're in 5. Anybody else with me? Usually get a little mascara on my eyelid, that's fine. And I always get junk in my eyeballs, so if you ever see anything floating around in there, don't be alarmed. This is the Auburn. And this one is a little, ooh! Don't panic. This one, oh! I just try not to worry about it and go on with my life. I ain't fancy like that. If you are, I love you. You share my interests. But just, I'm not in your income bracket yet, so there's that. I think tweezers are harder to use. I like to just set them on there with my fingers. Don't blow on the glue. That's gross. Cool. Hope that looks good.